Welcome to The Explainer. If you're an MSME owner, a plant manager, or maybe you're part of a corporate CSR or green transition team, listen up, because today's Explainer is custom built for you. We're taking the often complex world of industrial energy usage from our source materials, and we're breaking the whole thing down into a totally actionable roadmap. Our big focus today? The energy audit for MSMEs. By the end of this, you'll know exactly how to shrink those massive utility bills and cut your emissions at the exact same time.
Okay, let's dive into this. Do you know exactly where your electricity and fuel are actually going? I mean, really, truly know? Because for a lot of manufacturing facilities and businesses out there, the honest answer is, well, no. You pay that hefty utility bill at the end of every single month. You buy the diesel or the coal, and you kind of just accept it as the cost of doing business. But here's the thing. Hidden inside those massive bills is some serious financial pain and a ton of wasted energy. Every single unoptimized machine, every hissing steam leak, every poorly insulated pipe, it's silently draining your profitability. We've got to stop treating energy as a fixed cost and start treating it as a controllable resource. So here is our roadmap for today. We've got a highly structured path to demystify all of this. We'll hit 1. The cost of wasted energy. 2. What is an energy audit? 3. The bottom line impact. 4. Your MSME action checklist. And 5. Taking the first step. All right, Section 1. The cost of wasted energy. We need to talk about finding the leaks in your factory, because you can't fix a problem until you acknowledge the financial drain it's causing. The core philosophy of our explainer today boils down to this. Energy efficiency is the absolute lowest risk climate action for MSMEs, simply because it directly links to cost saving. So often we hear the phrase climate action and we immediately panic. We think of massive capital expenses, heavy regulatory burdens, or some crazy complicated ESG compliance framework. But honestly, that is completely missing the immediate business opportunity here. For a small or medium enterprise, the path to sustainability doesn't start with some expensive PR campaign. It starts with your bottom line. When you use less fuel to produce the exact same amount of goods, your emissions go down, sure, but your profit margins immediately go up. It's a completely risk-free win-win.
And this brilliantly illustrates a really common trap that well-meaning businesses fall into. They want to go green, so they jump straight to the flashy stuff, expensive solar installations or complex net zero strategies. But if you do that first, it's essentially like putting expensive solar panels on a house while leaving all the windows wide open in the middle of winter. It just doesn't make sense. Instead, we have to first understand where electricity and fuel are being wasted right now. If you plug the leaks in your factory first, your overall energy demand drops. And that means when you finally do decide to buy that solar system, you can buy a much smaller, cheaper one, because your facility is already running like a well-oiled machine.
Moving right along to Section 2, what is an energy audit? Think of it as a technical health checkup for your facility.
An energy audit is, at its core, a technical assessment of how a facility uses energy and where it can reduce waste. But let's strip away the engineering jargon for a second. Think of it like going to the doctor for a medical checkup or getting an X-ray for your factory. When you go to the doctor, they don't just look at you and guess what's wrong, right? No way. They measure your blood pressure, they check your heart rate, they look at hard data. An energy auditor does the exact same thing for your business. They come in with highly specialized instruments to measure, quantify, and document exactly how your plant breathes and consumes power. They are looking for all those hidden inefficiencies that you just can't see with the naked eye.
So what does this factory X-ray actually look like in practice? Let's take a quick journey of a joule through your plant. First, the auditor checks the overall electrical load the minute it enters the building. Then, they're looking at the real workhorses of your factory, the motors and the pumps. Are they oversized? Are they running when nobody's even using them? They check out your compressors and boilers. They look closely at your furnaces and steam systems. Is there a hissing pipe somewhere literally venting valuable steam and your money into the air? They'll check your insulation and lighting. They'll evaluate your power factor and the efficiency of those backup diesel generators. And finally, they're analyzing your process heat and cooling systems. They are physically walking the floor, measuring the reality of your day-to-day operations.
But wait, actually, scratch that. An auditor doesn't just look at the physical machines. That physical equipment check, that's really only half the battle. The other half is diving deep into the paperwork. They're going to review your records. They'll scrutinize your utility bills, log your actual operating hours, check the manufacturer machine ratings, dig into your fuel purchase records, and evaluate your past maintenance practices. Why? Well, because the math on paper absolutely has to match the physical operations on the floor. Look at it this way. If your fuel purchase records say you're buying massive amounts of coal, but your boiler output is relatively low, well, that discrepancy right there proves you've got a major efficiency leak. The records validate the physical findings.
Okay, Section 3, the bottom line impact. How do we take all these technical specs and translate them into actual financial returns?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it shows how a high-quality audit doesn't just hand you a depressing list of broken machines. It always connects the technical fixes directly to a financial payback. The best audits identify simple operational changes, like, hey, maybe just turning off a specific conveyor belt during the lunch hour. They'll spot maintenance issues, like a clogged filter that's forcing a motor to overwork. They'll highlight where equipment needs replacing and propose new tech upgrades. But most importantly, a true energy audit gives you the exact costs, the projected savings, and the payback periods. It translates all that heavy engineering talk into a crystal clear business case. Look, if you spend X amount today, you're going to save Y amount every month, and the whole thing will pay for itself in Z months.
Section 4, your MSME action checklist. It is time to prepare your data room before the auditor even steps foot on your property.
If you are a CSR team member or a plant manager, I highly recommend you screenshot this readiness list. To do this right, you need 12 months of electricity and fuel bills to show those seasonal variations. You need your production data, complete equipment lists, and past maintenance records. And I gotta warn you here, a messy data room severely reduces the quality of your final audit. If the auditor has to spend 3 days just hunting through filing cabinets for your electricity bills, well, they aren't spending that time finding the actual energy leaks on your factory floor. Help them help you.
And that brings us to Section 5, taking the first step. How do we convert this audit into action? Listen, the absolute worst thing you can do, literally the worst, is treat this audit report as just a file to toss on a dusty shelf. Do not just file it away to look compliant. An audit sitting on a shelf saves 0 rupees and it saves 0 fuel. The real magic happens when you convert that audit into a phased action plan. Getting the report is not the end of the journey. It's the starting line. Think of it as your playbook, and a playbook only works if your team actually implements the plays.
And the good news, you don't have to tackle the whole shebang all at once. The best approach is a logical, phased sequence. Step 1, implement the no-cost and low-cost measures. This might be something as simple as fixing compressed air leaks, optimizing your burner settings, or tweaking your operating schedules. Step 2, tackle the medium-cost measures, like installing variable frequency drives on your motors or doing a full lighting upgrade. Then, Step 3, execute the major capital upgrades, like replacing an entirely outdated boiler. By taking it in this order, the immediate cash savings you generate from Step 1 can actually help fund the more expensive upgrades in Steps 2 and 3. You build momentum and you build cash flow.
So the crucial point is this: a plan without accountability is just a wish. For every single recommendation the auditor makes, you absolutely must track the expected cost saving and emission reduction. But even more importantly, every single fix needs an assigned owner, an approved budget, and a strict deadline. If you don't assign a specific name and a specific date to a task, let's be real, in a busy manufacturing plant, it simply won't get done.
Now, you might be looking at Step 3 and wondering, how on earth do we pay for these major capital upgrades? Well, you don't have to do it alone. There are actually financing options out there for your green transition. As noted in our source materials, you should definitely explore schemes like the BEE City Energy Saving Finance or SIDBI Green Finance. You can also use the Bureau of Energy Efficiency or BEE portal to find properly certified energy auditors. But a quick word of caution, always verify your case-specific eligibility for these funds. Do not rely on outdated rules or industry hearsay. Always, always check the current official portals before making any financial commitments, because these policies evolve. Make sure you're operating on today's facts.
Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. But remember, knowledge is only power if you actually use it. So I'm going to leave you with this question. What is the first no-cost energy fix you will make in your facility today? Seriously, don't wait for the auditor. Walk your plant floor today and find just one thing you can optimize right now. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Be sure to check out the source notes, and I will see you next time.